This week on the Consume podcast, I'm going to be talking about artificial intelligence. Why not? Because everybody else is. No, but I'm going to show you how to better use it when you do your daily workflows, where it can be most helpful, how to engage with it properly as an agent, and I'm going to give you a great link to make life a whole heck of a lot easier when you think about how to use it. This is Consume, the podcast for real estate agents who are tired of hearing the same old industry stuff and want to experience something completely different. Oh, the joy of artificial intelligence. Yes. So I had the great pleasure of being out in Nebraska this past week, talking to some amazing agents as part of the Nebraska Realty Group. And one of the chats that we had was about artificial intelligence. And I realized it's a pretty common question that I get amongst my clients as to artificial intelligence. How should I be using it? How does it help me? So I want to spend a little bit of time talking about it to dispel a few myths and tell you a little bit of a story to start off with about where artificial intelligence can be helpful to you as an agent. And most importantly, how do you really begin to use it in a way that's effective and not gimmicky? So I started my own personal journey with the use of artificial intelligence purely out of curiosity. And I started using it the way that I think most people do, which is you go in, maybe you go to the ChatGPT site, you plug in certain things like good travel destination for me to go to, and it throws out some stuff and you're like, okay, this is kind of interesting and fine, whatever. But it wasn't actually until I started thinking about how it was working and learning how it worked before I began to kind of understand how it would help me both as an agent, as a coach, as an entrepreneur. And so I want to go through that part first because that was the biggest transformation from my own experience in using it. And I think it's the first step where agents really have a big transformation in how they use it. So artificial intelligence is not something to be afraid of. It's not going to take over our entire world. It's not going to take your job. Artificial intelligence, more so than anything, is a key portion of how you can work smarter and not harder in and around a thought partner. That's really, as an agent, what you should be using it for more so than anything else. Task-related things and as a thought partner. So let's separate those two out. I want to start with task-related things first. What does that mean by task-related things? Well, we all know we can go in and everybody has AI built into all their stuff these days. And, we can say, write a property description for me for 123 Main Street. And that's fine. Will it do it? Sure. Will it be any good? Maybe. But the tasks that you should be looking at are tasks that are things that you have to do more often. So I'm going to give you an example of what I use it for. So one of the tasks that we do very often is collecting a inspection report, getting that back, reading through it, communicating with our buyer, sharing it with the buyer, explaining what came up on the inspection report, and talking about what things maybe are the bigger things that they need to focus on and deal with and what things aren't. And so this is an area that it's something that we do regularly and more often. So how do you utilize it from this standpoint? Well, this is a task that you have to perform, but it can make that task much easier. So if I now take my inspection reports and I upload them to ChatGPT and I tell ChatGPT, okay, for this inspection report, I would like you to break it down into 3 separate categories. One being safety and structural issues that must be addressed. 2, things that are mid-level, things that are important, but maybe not essential. And then a section called cosmetic, meaning things that are just general cosmetic repairs. And summarize for me the things that you see in there while also providing the estimated cost based on our market as to what those costs should be to repair those items. And it'll create that. And then I can take that along with the inspection report and share both things to my client. And what that does is it allows my client to better understand what are the things that are really incredibly important that came up in this inspection report. There's a crack in a support beam in the attic that needs to be addressed. It's a structural concern. There's cracks in the foundation. These are major things. And then what are the estimated costs of repair? So you're really looking at what are the highest ticket, most important things that should block you from or could block you from purchasing this property. The mid-level things, there's security items that might be for the gate around the pool. There's a gap in the gate. It needs to be repaired. Fine. Then there's cosmetic things that aren't really all that important. Uh, you know, there's missing GFU unit or GFI unit by the kitchen sink that needs to be changed, whatever. Why this is really important and how artificial intelligence helps in this is because it puts things into a concise summary. It does the work for you of finding out generalized estimates within your area for what those things should cost. And they help paint a picture to the buyer to really understand what are the things that I should be worried about? What are the things that don't really matter? And then what are the things that we should be able to come back and say, well, these are the things that we would want either as a price reduction or for you to repair. And what I love about this is here's a conversation I can have with somebody. It makes me look better educated. It's a better presentation to the buyer in terms of what they should be thinking about, what they should be worried about, and how to prepare for this. And on top of that, if I have this conversation, let's say I look at this entire list that ChatGPT gave me, and next to it, while I'm talking to the client, I'm drawing lines through things and just saying, this isn't necessary. They're not concerned about this. This is something they'd like a credit for. This line item is something. And I take that and go back to ChatGPT and just do a copy paste. Okay. Had a conversation with my client. These are the things that they're concerned with. Please draft this as an email to the listing agent explaining what was found, what the estimated cost could be, and what we are requesting, and do so in a way that is polite, kind, and friendly, but firm around the idea of this is what we are requesting. It needs to be done. And it will give you that. And that makes my life much easier because now I can just copy paste that to the agent. So these are small, simple little ways as an example of task related things that you can begin to engage with AI to help take the things that you do regularly and act as a partner to you in reoccurring tasks that make you more effective, more efficient, right? And look better, frankly, to your client. So that's an example of how you can use it as a task related thing. But let's talk about it as a thought partner. So one of the best things that artificial intelligence helps with is to act as a thought partner for you when you're trying to brainstorm creative ideas, work that you're trying to establish. Maybe you're thinking about your marketing and how you could improve certain elements of your marketing. But as a thought partner, there's a very important piece or component that most people forget to do. And that is you have to tell it about yourself first. And I know many of you just gasp because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to tell it personal, private things about me. Well, listen, I'm not telling you, tell it personal, private things about you, but things that are commonplace and common understanding. The more that you educate the platform that you're using, and in this case, I'm just going to use ChatGPT as an example. You can use lots of different platforms. But the more that you can educate that platform that you're using about yourself, the better it's going to be at helping you engage with it in a way that produces better results for you as your thought partner. So what you want to begin to think about now in the use and implementation of this is start by uploading examples of your writing, right? Upload to it samples of your writing and say, hey, I'm providing you writing samples so you know how I write. Provide any type of background information, the link to your LinkedIn bio so that it has an understanding of who you are. Provide the link to your real estate website. Provide information, provide anything and everything that you can find, right? That would help it better understand who you are, what you do, how you think, how you operate, right? And that's the very first step that you should be doing. Then the next thing is tell it, ask me questions to better help you understand who I am, what I do, how I think, what's important. And this begins a natural process dialogue. Now, you can either do this by typing back and forth with it, or you can use the voice command prompt inside of ChatGPT and have a conversation back and forth, which is really the easiest way to do it. But as part of that conversation and natural language conversation, it's learning things now from you that are very important for you to be helping it so that it's better at helping you. Once you've established this and it has an understanding of your writing style, why you love being an agent, what you do, what you care about with how you help your consumer, your clients, all of those different components, right? Now, as a thought partner, it's a very different experience when you say, help me think, acting as and by the way, ChatGPT in particular loves when you give it a prompt, and we'll talk about prompting in a second, to act as something so that it has a better understanding of how to engage in the proper way that you're seeking the response. So if I were to say to it, acting as a marketing professional, help me brainstorm some ideas around what I can do to improve my marketing in the first quarter of this year, and listen to what it then says. And you can now have a verbal dialogue back and forth. You can say, I don't like that idea, or I do like that idea. Let's drill down on it a little bit more. What does this look like? What are some of the top agents in my market doing that you see being effective? It'll then go in and begin to do some research on those things for you. And again, this is how you operate with AI as a thought partner for you in order to better come up with creative solutions to problems that you're having, creativity in and around how you're engaging, problem solving difficult transactions. It's a really great tool. If you have an agent on the other side that's just being a giant pain in the ass, uploading all of the back end information and the email exchanges back and forth and saying, what would you recommend as a well-crafted email in response to this based on the behavior that I'm seeing from this particular agent, right? And it's really good at helping do that for you and with you. So again, these are important parts and pieces of how you can incorporate this, both from a task-related standpoint and also how to incorporate it in a natural conversational supportive role to help you be more creative in your thinking or in the execution of things that you might be struggling with. And all of this really starts and ends with the ability for you to prompt. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the different prompting techniques, but prompting is the first building block of how you communicate with an AI platform in order for it to produce the best results for you. And I would really recommend just Google or go to YouTube and look at a couple of videos on like introductions to AI prompting and just watch what they show you, because there's certain things that you need to understand as a foundation to have it be most effective. So it loves when you tell it to act as somebody, acting as a social media expert, acting as a learning and development expert. Help me come up with 5 creative ways to motivate my team to learn some new things and get them better traction in 2026. Again, these are all things that you can explore. So with this, you now have the ability to, again, have certain tasks that it can help with. With this, you have the ability to have certain natural language conversations. But let's talk next about where AI can be most effective when you are dealing with how you operate in the nature of your business. Now, for many of you listening to this, I have seller's guide, buyer's guides that I work with people on. And, I don't believe in traditional listing presentations anymore. Most consumers don't really care about any of that stuff. But when you think about artificial intelligence and it's how it operates with you and how it works, remember that its job, more so than anything else, unfortunately, is to be a big yes person. It wants to please you. So because of that, it's really agreeable. So you want to think of a few different ways that you can help it be more challenging, so that not challenging to use, but how it challenges you to think in a different capacity. So let me give you a couple of things that are just some prompts that I use very often. And again, these are things that are supportive in a way that I will either put at the end of something I'm working on or as part of something that I'm working on. So when I'm asking it to do something for me, right? Review this document and summarize the best ways that I can incorporate this, whatever that thing is. Let's even take the example of your the inspection report we were just talking about, right? Review this inspection report and break it into these categories. At the very end, I will add this prompt. Ask me clarifying questions until you're 95% confident you can complete the task successfully. That's a really good one, because what it's going to do then is look at what you've requested and then ask you specific questions in and around certain elements of it until it feels like, what, I got this. I understand what you want from me. I'm going to be really great at this. And that's a really good way for you to do an exchange back and forth with it very quickly to answer some specific questions in order for it to be really useful. when it comes back with something and it says, oh, this great idea of how to reform your marketing and your social media because of X, Y, and Z. Anytime that I'm asking it to be a creative thought process or partner with me, another prompt that I use is, what would a top 0.1% person in this field think? So if I've asked it to be a top marketing professional for me, or if I've asked it to be a top negotiation expert with me, once it gives me the responses, if I prompt it to say, what would a top 1%, 0.1% person in this field think? It's going to go back and do an analysis of the recommendation it gave you and really do a deep dive on, hey, based off of this, what would one of the best people in the industry in and around this think of this recommendation that I gave you, right? And remember, it's a way of having it challenge itself and challenge the ideas that it's coming up with for you. So that's another really good one that I use. And another one is we tend to, and it's a terrible term, but I use it all the time, drink our own bathwater. Like we tend to just believe what we're thinking because it's just easier, right? Naturally. And so another prompt that I'll use is when I've been working on something and I get really excited about it, right? Let's say I come up with a great way to market a particular property that has very little comps. It's very challenging. I've been going back and forth and I came up with this great solution for a neat way to market this property. One of the prompts that I'll give it is reframe this in a way that changes how I see the problem, right? Or I will say, reframe this in a way that challenges how I see the problem. And the reason this is a great prompt to use is it's going to go back and do some critical thinking around the problem that we've been working on and give you different perspectives around it. And it helps me better understand, how do I engage with this in a way? How do I challenge my own thought process to really see what is the best way that I can create something here or do something here that is truly different, revolutionary, change-worthy, going to be successful, right? So again, reframe this in a way that changes how I see the problem, or reframe this in a way that challenges how I see the problem, is a great tool. And the last tip that I'm going to give you as a little aside here is a bit of a longer prompt. And again, you can use the transcript from this podcast and just copy paste these portions out of the transcript if you want to use them directly as is. That's a great way to do this. But sometimes when I'm working on something that's a little bit bigger and a little more complex, and I want to make sure that the AI platform, the tool that I'm using, is thinking critically and providing me the reasons as to why it's coming up with these answers or why it's doing it the way that it's doing. I will give it this prompt. When you provide an answer, please explain the reasoning and assumptions behind your response. If possible, use specific examples or evidence to support your answer of why, and then whatever you asked it to do, is the best. Moreover, please address any potential ambiguities or limitations in your answer to provide a more complete and accurate response. So what does this mean? Let's say I have gone to ChatGPT as an agent and I am trying to find the best platform, right, for me to use as a CRM. I've decided, you know what, I don't like the CRM system we're using. And I will say, acting as a top agent and project manager, find the most efficient and effective and best use. Actually, let's change that. I'll make it even easier. I'm looking for a brand new CRM, and I'm going to tell ChatGPT, tell me the best CRMs for real estate and why agents like them and what agents don't like about them. Great. Simple enough. But then when I add, when you provide an answer, please explain the reasoning and assumptions behind your response. If possible, use specific examples or evidence to support your answer of why that particular CRM is the best. Moreover, address any potential ambiguities or limitations in your answer to provide a more complete and accurate response. This really changes how it's going to go in and provide the information back to me, because it's challenging itself to be able to say, okay, I think this based on what I've seen from agent recommendations and comments and Reddit threads and the web, this is one of the best tools, right? But then it's going to go back and say, okay, well, why did you assume that was the best tool, right? Can you give me specific examples that you found that show that that's the best tool? And address anything that might be a limitation of that tool that you might want to flag to me that could be challenging. Now, what's really impressive about this is the more that you use an AI platform, the more it's learning about you. And if the tool that I'm using, let's say again, ChatGPT in this context, is something that I'm using I'm using regularly, it has learned about me, I've fed it background information, it knows how I work, what I like. That's all information that it's going to be using when it goes out to do this task on finding a good CRM for me. And by using a prompt like the one that I just talked about, now it's doing an even bigger, deeper dive into these sort of more subtle nuances to provide. And when you read the answer back, right, now I have an opportunity to really say, okay, well, you said, hey, I think this CRM is the best, but based on how you use technology from what I know from you, Lance, you may not like the fact that it requires you to do A, B, and C as part of this. So now it's getting more specific to how I engage in things and how I use things. So again, these are examples of really basic prompts to add to the end of the things that you're working on or doing to have better outcomes and better examples. And there's lots of different things that you can do, lots of different resources and tools that you can have. In fact, I've compiled a list of literally the top prompts that I would or could use. And I have created a special link. We're going to put that link today in the show notes so you can go check it out. It's the top 10 prompts in every different workflow section for an agent. It's got a search field in it. You can use that search field to go in and take a look and say, look, I'm looking for something that's going to help me with listing presentations. I'm looking for something that's going to help with negotiation. I'm looking for some prompts that are going to help me get started with buyer workflow, right? And it's going to show you a bunch of different things that you can use. And again, use these as creative tools and resources to be able to think about, hey, what are the different ways that I can engage with artificial intelligence? I don't mean you have to use all of them. Just look at what's there and think, oh, I didn't think about that. I didn't realize I could have a prompt here or have it help me with X, right? Because that's the most creative way to begin to understand how you can incorporate it into your workflow. So again, as a recap for today's show, we're going to use the link in the show notes to look more at some of the prompts that we pre-created for you. Take a look at the quick prompts that I just gave as an example. Use the transcript available as part of the podcast to copy paste these and try them out on some stuff that you're already using and doing, as they're incredibly helpful. And remember, AI as a platform and a tool for you right now is something that you can lean into and play with, try, explore. The more exploratory you are with it, the more you're going to learn how it helps you, how you better engage with it, and what you can do to begin to use it in a way that benefits the workflow that you have, benefits your business, and even in the smallest, simplest ways, makes you look more efficient, more effective, and be more efficient and more effective for your consumers because they're already using it. So take advantage of that opportunity to meet people where they're at and use tools and resources like this to help you have a better experience in how you engage with your customers, your consumers, and your clients.